What if I told you that after World War II, the United States secretly brought hundreds of German scientists to America? Some had worked for Nazi Germany. Some had helped develop advanced weapons. And one of them would eventually help build the rocket that carried humans to the moon. This was not a conspiracy theory. It was real. But why would America recruit scientists connected to the Nazi regime? And how did these men go from working for Hitler's Germany to helping America win the space race? This is the story of Operation Paperclip. The end of the war. In 1945, Nazi Germany was collapsing. The Allied armies were advancing across Germany, and Hitler's regime was coming to an end. But as American forces entered German territory, they discovered something extraordinary. Germany had developed advanced military technologies that were years ahead of their time. One of the most impressive was the V-2 rocket. It was the world's first long-range ballistic missile, capable of traveling hundreds of miles and striking targets without warning. Germany was also developing jet aircraft, guided missiles, and other advanced weapons. American officials quickly realized that the scientists behind these technologies could become extremely valuable. But America was not the only country interested in them. The Soviet Union wanted them too. World War II was ending. The Cold War was beginning. And a new race had started. A race for scientific knowledge. Operation Paperclip. The United States began secretly recruiting German scientists and engineers. The program became known as its goal was simple. Find the most valuable German specialists. Bring them to America. And use their knowledge to strengthen American military and technological programs. But there was a major problem. Many of these scientists had connections to Nazi Germany. Some had been members of the Nazi Party. Others had worked on military projects. And some were connected to systems that used forced labor. American officials now faced a difficult decision. Should these scientists be rejected because of their past? Or should their knowledge be used to protect America's future? During the early Cold War, national security often came first. And America decided that their expertise was too valuable to ignore. Wernher von Braun. The most famous scientist recruited through Operation Paperclip was Wernher von Braun. Von Braun had dreamed of space travel since he was young. But during World War II, his rocket expertise was used by Nazi Germany. He became one of the leading figures behind the V-2 rocket program. The V-2 was a technological breakthrough. But its production was also associated with the brutal Nazi forced labor system, where prisoners worked under terrible conditions. Thousands died. After Germany surrendered, von Braun and his rocket team were captured by American forces. The United States quickly recognized their potential. America wanted their knowledge before the Soviet Union could obtain it. Von Braun and other German specialists were eventually brought to the United States. Their mission had changed. They would now work for America. The space race. Operation Paperclip was not only about rockets. The United States recruited hundreds of German specialists in fields including aviation, medicine, military technology, and engineering. But rocket science became one of the most important areas. Then, in 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the first artificial satellite. America was shocked. The space race had begun. Wernher von Braun became a major figure in America's space program. His team helped develop the Saturn V rocket. Then, in 1969, history was made. Apollo 11 reached the moon. Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface. Millions of people watched. And the rocket that carried humans to the moon had been developed under the leadership of Wernher von Braun. The irony was extraordinary. A scientist whose work had once supported Nazi Germany had become one of the key figures in America's greatest technological achievement. The moral question. But Operation Paperclip remains controversial. Supporters argue that America had to recruit these scientists because the Soviet Union was doing the same. If America rejected their expertise, the Soviets could gain a major advantage. But critics argue that some scientists' Nazi connections and wartime activities were minimized or hidden. For the victims of Nazi persecution, the recruitment of former German scientists was deeply troubling. Operation Paperclip therefore created a difficult moral contradiction. America had fought a war against Nazi Germany. Yet after the war, it recruited people connected to the Nazi war machine. The Cold War had changed the priorities. National security had become the deciding factor. The legacy. Operation Paperclip brought hundreds of German specialists to the United States. Their knowledge influenced American missile development, military technology, aviation, and the space program. Their work helped America compete with the Soviet Union. And in the end, it contributed to one of humanity's greatest achievements: putting humans on the moon. But Operation Paperclip is more than a story about science and technology. It is a story about war. It is a story about ambition. And it is a story about difficult choices. Because it forces us to ask a question that still has no simple answer. When national security is at stake, how much of the past is a country willing to overlook? Operation Paperclip changed American history. It helped shape the space race. It helped put humans on the moon. But it also left behind a complicated legacy.